The topic is American immigration policy at the 21st century, and we have to talk about this policy at the 21st century. Professor Michael McDonald in the Department of Political Science at Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. McDonald, let's allow you to continue our conversation that we interrupted during that first segment.
Okay. Well, Dr. Haney, I think it's important for your viewing audience to have a pretty basic understanding of what we mean when we use the term immigration policies, because it's a term that's being thrown around quite a bit, as you said, in some contemporary circles. Immigration basically means the policies that the United States has regarding who can enter, how long they can stay here, and when they have to leave. And in those contexts, we're talking about individuals that could fall into 6 different categories. Have individuals that are residents, non-residents, individuals that are aliens, non-aliens, and then you have individuals that are documented and undocumented. And what we're hearing a lot of the treatment and discussion about is that 6th group, which is the undocumented aliens, and individuals who have come here from other countries, for the most part, have all been classified as aliens. These are individuals who were not U.S. born. They didn't go through the naturalization process, which is a process where you actually take an exam and you have to get clearance from the government, and then you actually take the oath where you swear allegiance to the United States. We have people who go through the naturalization process almost every month in the various federal courthouses across the country. Individuals who basically give up their allegiance to their original country and then swear their allegiance to the United States. So the majority of individuals who fall on these immigration policies are in fact aliens. And as I mentioned in the first segment, the United States was built upon this whole concept of aliens. And as you mentioned, most of these individuals had what you would call dual citizenship, Polish Americans, Irish Americans, Italian Americans. The idea being that many of them were first generation Americans. Some of these individuals continued to keep their native languages even as they were, assimilating into the United States. The immigration policies or immigration movement goes as far back as the 1600s. If you wanted to really isolate it, you could talk about the Mayflower, you could talk about Plymouth Rock, you could talk about the original founding fathers, so to speak, of this country. And the U.S. Constitution provides for the U.S. Congress to have complete power over immigration laws. So when it comes to enforcement over who's allowed to come in the country, how long they can stay here, and when they have to leave, Congress, for the most part, controls that through statutes. And over the past 200+ years, there have been many different groups from different countries who have come to the United States. The European theater, for example, individuals arrived here at Ellis Island by the thousands, by the millions, and a lot of those individuals set up what was really known as immigration slums in some of the eastern United States northern cities. And a lot of these individuals were leaving their country because of economic conditions. You look at the Irish Americans who were fleeing because of starvation and because of the economic situation in Ireland. The same was true for other groups who were being oppressed. And they saw the opportunity to come to the United States, again, arriving at Ellis Island and seeing the Statue of Liberty, this whole idea that they could come here and make better lives for themselves. And we actually saw that develop too in terms of the history of the United States. As the pilgrims and the settlers moved west across the Mississippi, you begin to see different groups come into the United States. For example, you look at southwestern states, Mexicans coming in by droves, and then eventually you had Japanese Americans who really, for the most part, were responsible for helping to build the railroads, which really industrialized the West in the United States. So there have been many groups that represent just about every continent on the planet who consider themselves to be U.S. citizens, but for the most part have roots that are very deep in other countries.
And all, in the real sense, have made very, very significant contributions to the United States.
Yes, I think that's the strength of this country is when we talk about diversity and we talk about inclusiveness and we talk about the United States being a melting pot. I don't think I don't believe there's another country or another nation in the world that has such diversity, and I think that's the strength of this country. So when we start talking about trying to put limitations and restrictions on who can stay, who should leave, and then restrictions on who can stay and under what conditions, we need to have a better understanding about our own history too, because all of us at one point in time were standing at the door knocking, trying to get into the United States.
And so you do feel that the economics of it, even now, looking at the current situation, that many of the individuals who come to the United States are looking for a better life, like the overwhelming majority who came prior to this time?
Yes, I would say that's true, because the majority of the visas, which are basically just permits that are issued by the Immigration and Naturalization Service, are either student visas, individuals who are residents of foreign countries who want to come to the United States and study, or second, they're work visas, employment visas. And so you're talking about either economic improvements or educational improvements. And as far as I'm concerned, they both kind of dovetail together. And ideal, if I can get a better education, or if I can find a better job, then maybe I can improve my quality of life.
And this all, in a real sense, goes to help make the United States a more diversified country. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would say that. And it's also important to keep in mind that this has not been a unilateral sort of situation. It's not that the United States is the only country receiving people as immigrants. We have individuals that are U.S. citizens who have left the United States, and countries have welcomed them and allowed them to study abroad, issuing them visas and permits. And so it's important that we look at this from a global standpoint instead of a domestic standpoint.
Very good. Of course, let's make preparations, Professor McDonald, for the second commercial break. But I think that the information that you're given is the information that we wanted to sort of highlight, this very, very fact of we are diverse primarily because we've had people from various continents in a real sense to come to the United States. And of course, let us take the second commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Dr. Michael McDonald